All war is horrible, but World War I was especially awful. Much like the Civil War, World War I was a conflict that saw old fighting techniques and strategies collide with new weapons. Men charged headlong into machine gun fire and blistering artillery, or they sat in their cold, muddy trenches, dreading a chemical weapons attack. In short, it was hell. From such a horrific time in our history, it's not surprising that ghost stories and supernatural happenings were recorded. Let's examine a few of the ghosts of World War I. We'll begin with a story that's been proven as fake, but it was once taken as fact, that of the Angels of Mons. The true part of the story is that in 1914, British and French forces faced the Germans, who had them outnumbered 2-1. When the Germans attacked, the British and French were able to hold their ground for a time, but eventually the Germans gained the upper hand. One story from the battle told of a British force about to be overrun. At the moment that all seemed lost, the soldiers watched in amazement as men they had never seen before materialized between them and the Germans. The newcomers held longbows, took aim, and held the German army back, giving the British time to escape. Then, the bowmen vanished. It's a great story, but it was eventually proven to be just that, a story. Canadian historian Tim Cook recounts the experience of soldier Wallace Reid. In 1916, at the Battle of the Somme, an artillery shell hit Wallace's position, not close enough to kill him, but close enough to bury him in dirt and corpses. Wallace said that when he dug himself out, he found the battlefield had gone completely silent. You might think Wallace's hearing had just been damaged from the blast, and you might be right, but his description of what happened next is eerie. Mr. Cook found a letter Wallace wrote to his mother that read, "I waited, scarcely breathing, for something. Waited, it seemed minutes that could only have been seconds. Then it came, invisible, intangible, but nevertheless very real. Something came to that place of desolation, stopped a moment, and passed on again." What was the it that had visited Wallace? An angel? A ghost of one of his newly dead comrades? Was it just Wallace's imagination? Or something unworldly? A famous ghost encounter from World War I comes from Canadian soldier Will Byrd. In his book, Ghosts Have Warm Hands, Byrd tells of sleeping in his bunker on the front lines in 1917 when he felt someone shaking him awake. When he opened his eyes, Will was astonished to see his brother Steve staring down at him. Steve had been dead for 2 years. Byrd writes that his brother put a warm hand over his mouth to stop him from speaking, which is where the title of the book comes from. And the apparition gestured for Byrd to follow him. Together, they left the bunker and headed out onto the battlefield. Before long, the ghost of his brother vanished, and Byrd was left alone. Upon returning to the bunker in which he'd been sleeping, he discovered that a shell had completely destroyed it. Byrd survived the war, something for which he thanks his deceased brother. World War I took the lives of over 17 million soldiers and civilians. In J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, there's a quote that says, "War will make corpses of us all." Perhaps it makes ghosts as well.